sent an email to Sony. And by May 24th, Jason was gone. So when Ken Wheeler says, hey, some girls reached out to me, we did. I will say I don't necessarily condone some of the kind of exaggerations he made, because there was never a rape claim, and I don't know if wires got crossed or if it was to blow up the story a little bit, but that was where the claim kind of got a little iffy. And I did it with the intention of, if there was one person that could just get under Jason's skin without me having to be the one to personally just get under his skin, and for me to kind of stay out of it, Ken Wheeler would be the one to do it. And in that regard, Ken Wheeler fully delivered.
Hello there, my name is Jason Lanier. I'm going to tell you the real life story of character assassination being disguised as sexual misconduct. Let me just clear the record a little bit. I've never committed sexual assault. Never. Ever. Now, whenever I make a video like this, people say, well, Jason, you should just let the legal process take its time. Folks, we've been working on the legal process for this for the last 14 months. So we have to take a two-pronged approach. We take an approach from a legal standpoint and from a social media standpoint. We live in a day and age where you have news agencies and everything else out there, and if you're at all well known, they pick things up and they run with it. And if you have no response, people assume, well, you must be guilty. So for that reason, we're making a video, and for that reason, we're answering all of the allegations out there and bringing you the truth. As we speak, I've been notified by many photography blogs and photography news outlets that they're planning on running stories about this. I've offered these outlets the opportunity to get an advance copy of my video so they can see my side of the story before they run with it. These outlets have decided to not do that. So if you're watching this, most likely those stories have already been published. I told them that it would only be a day or two, and they are deciding to run with the stories regardless of what I have to say about it. I've had both F-stoppers and the phoblographer reach out to me on this. They're asking for a statement. This kind of a scenario requires much more than a statement. It requires the truth. For those who don't know, I do something very different than the vast majority of other photographers. What I do is very much like being in a rock band. You travel with people, you're driving with people, you become very close and you become friends. So when people say, oh, that's not the way the normal photography industry is, yeah, I don't do what the normal photography industry does. And if you look over the course of time, most rock bands break up. There's a reason why. It's a lot to be in confined spaces. It's a lot of stress. And as glamorous and as fun as it is, it takes a toll. I'm going to talk about the effects of defamation and character assassination. I'm going to talk about dismantling the entourage. We're going to talk about love languages. We're going to talk about the likes of Ken Wheeler, Jason Sarantos, and other people who are conspiring to fuel this story. We're going to talk about the recruiter-in-chief, Sierra Green. We're going to talk about the other ladies that I've traveled with over the years and address their individual stories. And I'm going to show you revisionist history in the making. I'm going to show you how people say one thing when they're working for me, say more things after they're working for me, but then come 6 months, a year afterwards, how things change. And the power and destruction of groupthink. We're going to talk about the dog pile effect. Yes, I am talking about Irene Rudnick and other people, and I will address that head on as well. And we're going to talk about how an experience like this changes you as a human being, and why I sincerely hope that nobody else ever has to go through this. This video is going to have a lot of strong content because the people who are levying these complaints and lies against me have a lot of things to say that are very vulgar. So defamation, it's really different than something that you deal with from a criminal perspective. Why? It's the only case that if you're innocent, you actually have to pay to put yourself on the stand. Do you hear that? Normally in a criminal case, they actually advise defendants to not get on the stand, take the fifth. This is a case of me having to pay money to attorneys so I can clear my name, and I'm actually willing to put myself on the stand. That should tell you something. This is a situation where I am liquidating my assets. I'm liquidating retirement savings. Imagine if your personal text messages that you have with friends are being thrown around all over the internet. A complete invasion of privacy when no criminal conduct has occurred. I can tell you that having dealt with this now for the last 14 months, and with the intense pressure that's been on me for the last month, that I understand why somebody would go into an extreme depression and or consider suicide under a scenario like this. I'm a very strong individual, but this has been incredibly, incredibly difficult. This could break people, and it could make people commit suicide. This is serious. Posting stuff online about people with absolutely no regard for their family, for their health, for nothing, just out of pure revenge, is disgusting and evil. This is a scenario where you have attacked my wife, you've attacked my children, you've attacked Emily, you've attacked anyone that you can just to get to me. If that's not revenge, I don't know what is. The good old saying of where there's smoke, there's fire isn't always true. In some cases, there's arsonists. When I started talking about dismantling this entourage, there's a lot of correlation to me hiring Emily with what's going on right now. Now, I know you may be watching this and saying, oh, come on, Jason. Folks, I've been shooting and traveling for over a decade. No claims. I started talking with Emily about doing this job nearly 18 months ago. That's when everything started. Nearly every single person that is making any allegations, and by the way, when you actually look into the allegations, there's nothing there. I mean, we're talking people about complaining about me placing my hand on the small of their back. That's not sexual misconduct. Bringing on Emily caused a chain reaction. Now, I certainly don't blame her. I blame the individuals involved. But when I brought her in and everybody knew she wasn't going anywhere, that's when it hit the fan. That's the honest truth. Now, if you don't believe that statement, listen to this. One of the individuals involved with this whole cabal, this whole charade, direct messaged Emily and said the following: using photography as a dating escort service is the truest damn thing I've ever read. Next time, think twice before you try to act like you're my boss. This person writes, I've gotten 600 followers just since Jason posted his video about me. Emily, I refer to as my firewall because I have implemented her in this situation to put a stopgap between me and these other individuals who are really out to harm me. This is what this individual wrote. And I'm purposely blurring out their name because they're gloating about the fact that they got followers following my video, so I'm not going to make that same mistake again. Who knew his firewall would be the one to actually start the fire? Just please do me a favor and let that sink in. Now again, excuse my language, but it's important that I read out what they've written. She then sends a picture of Emily and says, laughing my fucking ass off, the pure face of jealousy. I also want to say, and I do need to say this, there are some amazing women that I have worked with. In fact, there's a ton of amazing women that I've worked with who aren't causing any of these problems. This is a handful. It's a handful. We're dealing with the handful. So those ladies out there that I've worked with you and you're being good to us, thank you. We love you. Here are some emails that I sent to the team prior to our trip to Detroit. In this email, I tell the ladies I require more professionalism. If I continue on the same path that I've been doing over the last 3 years, I will not be able to continue financially. This is not sustainable. And I go on to write that I'm taking control of the ship. So if you follow my channel at all, you know that you know Allie, you know Alyssa O'Brien. When we did this trip in September, which is about a 10-day trip, about the midway point of the trip, we were having a lot of issues with the other ladies, Quisha and Allie. And it culminated in a dinner that we had at Cracker Barrel. Allie comes into the restaurant and she's crying. She said that her mother was having problems paying rent, so asked if she could get a payday advance. Sitting right there at the table, got on my phone, my PayPal app, and I sent her $600. Now, just as a point of reference for people who are running around saying that I don't pay people, here's a receipt from PayPal that shows that I paid Allie $1,150 for 6 days of workshop work. That's on top of paying for all travel, all food, all accommodations, everything. I got paid $1,150 for working 3 workshops. Each workshop is 2 days. If you guys are wondering, each workshop, the actual modeling time is maybe 5 hours. I think that's a very fair rate. So here are the allegations according to Allie in her video.
I can't really prove that, sexual misconduct. This is sexual misconduct. How could I have recorded when he puts his hand on the small of my back?
She went on to say that we did a shoot at the newspaper factory in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
There was an instance during this time that you took me to a back room and insisted on helping me into the costume or outfit rather than having me do it myself. You had me stripped down to put the outfit on me, and I said okay.
Now you can take my word for it, or you can listen to Mr. Gary Moore, who is more than happy to go on the record. He was at the shoot, he assisted with the shoot, and here's what he tells you what went down.
Yeah, hi, my name is Gary Moore. I've been fortunate enough to assist Jason on 3 separate shoots in the Pittsburgh area. One particular shoot that Jason had asked me to comment on was a shoot that we did in the old abandoned Pittsburgh Post Gazette building. One of the models that has allegations was involved in this shoot. And there again, from the get-go, good rapport, everything was cool. He had the model make a dress out of old newspapers, which was a cool idea, and it turned out really cool in the video. Go check it out. But anyhow, she went to her secure area, did her newspaper dress thing with just newspapers and tape, and then when she came out, I remember Jason was asked if he could tape the back of the dress, because obviously she couldn't reach the back of her dress. So even when he taped that wardrobe, it was done with great care. I remember when he put it on there, he didn't even press hard enough to push the paper into her body or her skin. I saw nothing but professionalism from Jason.
As he stated, the only reason I even helped Allie was because she asked me to, and the only part that I did was go on and tape the back. That was one of the very first shoots that I did with Allie. There's absolutely no reason why she would continue to work with me if I was doing inappropriate things. It's just that simple. Allie goes on to complain about another circumstance where we went to the Waldo Hotel in Clarksburg, West Virginia. While at the hotel, she went on to state that I placed a camera behind her that was shooting her butt. I put a camera on the ground to capture the powder that she was throwing in the air. Why is it on the ground? So it's not in the shots. I was shooting with the A9 at 20 frames per second. I'm not going to Photoshop light stands and a camera out of every single shot because I was doing consecutive shots. Shoulder up. 1, 2, 3. I think you just hit my camera.
Did I? No, I hit the board.
Okay, good. Allie, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Go ahead and stand up, sweetheart. Oh,
You're welcome.
thank you.
You do that.
There's an individual named Michael Brown who's actually known me for 8 years and was at the shoot, as was about 10 other people who can vouch for what went on. Here's what Michael had to say.
Hi, my name is Michael Brown, and I'm coming to you here from the Waldo Hotel. I'm here today to specifically discuss some of the allegations involving Jason Lanier. Jason and I have known each other for about 8 years, worked on probably over a dozen photo shoots. In that video where allegations are brought up, Jason specifically mentions all the equipment being used, all the lighting, camera, and that the production camera is behind the model and on the ground for the purposes of not showing up in the still photos. Witnessed by myself and many others that were just in a workshop that just had finished up that night. And in all my time of knowing Jason, I have never seen him act inappropriate to any of his models, and has always treated them with the respect that they deserve.
I should never have been put in these situations to begin with, even if I did consent. But because I did consent and because I don't have any evidence, I can't claim anything.
Truth be told, Allie left because Emily was here now, and she realized Emily wasn't going anywhere, and she wanted to do dance.
Yeah, so I knew that he was going to start telling people that I quit because of dance.
So back in October 2018, I did a Halloween shoot with Allie and Quisha Mothershed, who shot with me and everything. We had a couple other photographers there as well, and a makeup artist. The conversation came up where I asked Allie, why are you not shooting with Jason anymore, and why you left? She told me that she had left because she wanted to pursue her dance. I spoke with Allie's mom, who was there as well, and she reiterated what Allie had said, that they left their home in Houston or Texas, where it was at, to move to Las Vegas, so to pursue Allie's dance, not to be Jason and Lanier's assistant. So that was the information that was given to me. We shot, and that was it, and pretty much all the information that she gave me.
And I'm no longer working for them, by the way. You guys probably all know who it is, but I quit like two or 3 months ago. I don't remember, but at the time I'm like, okay, I want to dance. Okay, I want to model. Okay, I want to film. Okay, I want to do video. Okay, like edit, like do makeup. Like I'm really into makeup. Like I'm just like, I guess I'm just a passionate person. I'm passionate about a lot of different things, and I felt like any one of these paths I could be successful in, but I just didn't know which one. And then there's working for this person, and I was like really, really confident, you know, this would go somewhere and I'd be able to like really grow in this business, and like, but that didn't work out. And so it became easier to eliminate that from my list of things I really wanted to do.
Now, I told you earlier that this is also a situation where there's friendly banter that is turned into something nefarious, when that's not what it is at all. I'm going to show you some text messages between myself and Allie. This is back in February of 2018. Now, you're going to see a pattern here where I am asking professional questions and I'm getting back unprofessional answers. And then we turn it into friendly banter. At the time, Quisha and Allie were driving in a car together. I was flying, and I sent in a text message just saying we should book the Oak Alley Plantation for the 12th. Then Quisha replies and said, "Oh, this is how much Allie loves you." Allie put me into her phone, her contact, as Jason Sugar Grandpa Lanier. So now we're going to talk about Miss Quisha. For those who don't know, Miss Quisha actually wanted the travel assistant role. Now, this is also a classic situation where I should have learned never put somebody in a role that they don't want. She wanted the travel assistant role. She actually applied to model for it, sending me bikini shots and all sorts of stuff, and it wasn't the right fit. So I offered her something else, which I never should have done, because it was always causing problems because she wanted the role that other people had. For all of the things that these ladies say about me, I'm going to give you some examples here of what was thrown my way. This is an example where I was asked to sing happy birthday to a man at the end of one of my workshops, and I proceeded to do so. And upon finishing, you hear Quisha say, "You can sing happy birthday to me anytime."
Would you? You don't have to.
My vocal cords aren't warmed up.
Warmed up. Yeah, it was
I just cracked right there.
Hey, girls, you'll surround him. He needs.
No, I do not need the girls.
Okay.
The girls would only make it worse.
Sing, 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 sing. No, you guys are lame.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. What's the rest? Happy birthday, dear us. Happy birthday to you.
Wow. You are a singer. I'll treasure that always. I'm gonna think about you on my birthday.
I can only imagine what would be said of me if I said that to one of the models after she sang to a workshop attendee. Back in February of 2018, there was a trip that included Sierra, Allie, and Quisha. Now, during this trip, Sierra, Allie, and Quisha spent the vast majority of the time together, not with me. During this trip, they brought up the topic of love languages. They were driving separately from Florida up to Louisiana to go to a workshop. Quisha elected to give everyone in the car, which was Allie, another model that I'm not going to name because she's not part of this, and Sierra and herself, love language tests. I had nothing to do with that. She then texts me and says, "Everyone is taking their love language tests. You should do yours, even though we know your love language." To which I replied, "I don't waste time on something I already know." You'll also note that we joked around about my age. They teased me about my age all the time. They teased me about other stuff. There's a group text made up of 4 different people, and this love language conversation went as such. I called Allie Sugar Grandbaby Brat. She called me Sugar Grandpa Lanier. You know, for an old man, I sure wear all of you out. You are all severely out of shape. This is just friendly banter amongst friends and people traveling together. Keep the old man jokes coming. And when we're shooting at some ungodly hour and you millennials are trying to find your safe space, don't forget that it's the old man that's outlasted all of you. Bah ha ha ha. I bring it back to positive business messages, and this is an uncut text message exchange, by the way. I tell them to be safe. I tell them to support each other, help each other. We're trying to build a family, good Fedora family unit, stuff like that. People like Quisha and others take it to different things. Quisha texts #BlackLove. I do #AllLove, and then she replies #JungleLove. And I reply to her and said, that moment when your employee sexually harasses the boss. And she replies, there's a Quisha, when I touch you, it's your love language. Now, can you imagine if I had written that? So see, when we talk about banter and everything else going on, this is what we're talking about. So this is the context. Everything that you see out there is missing the context. That's why we're providing it to you here. I took it back to business and I said homework assignment, and I talked to the ladies about doing things to help move the business forward. And as you'll see, this love language conversation included more than just touch. Sierra replied back and said, we get it. Your second love language is words of affirmation. To which I replied back, #success language.
Playing this word game, and the words are hand job. And I said, I feel like my game was hinting at something. He said, LMAO, wow, your love language is changing. I said in all caps, I didn't put that. This game is like word mahjong. He said, LOL, it must be psychic.
This is banter turned into something else. There's another time on this trip where I sent a text message to Quisha that said, please post on the meetup page with the revised time of noon due to needing time to find outfits. She wrote, psst, get some rest and some sweet jungle dreams. To which I replied, I'm working on it. Now, one of the reasons I say this is revisionist history is because all of the people that we're talking about here have maintained contact with me after we stopped working. There were some hard feelings that they weren't working with me, but there were never any claims of any sexual misconduct or anything of that nature at all. I mean, Quisha just texted me 4 months later on my birthday. Happy birthday. Out of the blue. Next person on the list is Tiffany Williamson. Now, this individual worked with me for a total of 3 shoots. Now, what was very interesting about her video is she goes and tells the story of us working together and only mentions the first time. I worked with this person 3 times, and they only tell the story of the first time. Why would this person continue to work with me if the first time was so bad? Her biggest claim on that first time is that I kissed her on the cheek, but she said, oh, that's pretty typical.
Things were fine. He didn't push it any further. Although when I left, he did kiss my cheek by, but that's kind of normal.
Tiffany also goes on to state that it's typical for models to flirt and use photographers to get what they want.
Then there were messages, and so most models, and this is my mistake, flirt back. Because if you don't keep some tiny bit of their interest, then they're not going to bring you back, and it's a really good publicity opportunity. I don't want to say take advantage of it, but you kind of do, because they're trying to use you so you don't feel bad, you know. It's all just a bunch of words.
So let me set the record straight with what happened with me and Miss Tiffany. I was never inappropriate with her at all. We shot in June of 2017. We shot in October of 2017, where you drove from Knoxville, Tennessee to Atlanta to do a workshop with me. And by the way, I had a travel assistant at the time, wasn't auditioning you. And then we shot again in September of 2018, where again you drove from Knoxville, Tennessee all the way to Louisville, Kentucky to do a workshop. Let me show you what she wrote to me after knowing me for one day. One day, my friends. I can see myself being close to you. I would sincerely enjoy working alongside of you if you should decide you'd like to. I never offered her a job. My reply, thank you for joining me. So in July, she sends me a text message and said, still interested in assisting you. I said, me too. I was keeping the door open because I didn't have a travel assistant at the time. That's why she wrote, I saw your post about still looking and wasn't sure if you still wanted to. I was still looking. So of course I'm gonna say me too. Anybody who's applied for the position, had any interest in the position, I'm not gonna close the door until I find the right person for the position. I went on to find my travel assistant at the time, later that month, and that was it. Now, as we went, Tiffany would continue to message me. I'm here to talk or travel whenever you want. Just reach out with a heart. She does a post on Facebook in January 2018. Jason Lanier with 5 heart faces and hand claps. In September of 2018, now I have Miss Emily with me. She comes to a workshop. So you notice the pattern. I shot with her once at the Kentucky Horse Park with Ken, biggest mistake of my life. And then I go and bring her to another workshop when I already have a travel assistant. Bring her to another workshop when I already have a travel assistant. We do a selfie and she posts with Jason Lanier. And always, as usual, loved every minute of it, with smiles and hearts. Now I can tell you, she had a falling out with Miss Emily at this workshop. I'm in the middle of an abandoned building with workshop attendees. We're shooting, and Tiffany's going on and on and on about mouse poop. While I'm teaching, I mean very loud. Emily shushed her. That caused an immense amount of hatred. I know it sounds insane, but it did. When people say this has nothing to do with jealousy, look at this message that Tiffany sent to my wife after all of this happened. Again, why including my wife? She has nothing to do with any of this. Funny how all the videos lately praise Emily more than you. What a hurtful and crazy thing to say. More messages to Kara. Things are about to get bad fast. Be careful about how vocal you are about everything. This is so bogus. So bogus. Okay, next person on our list is Jade Galloway. I did an entire video related mostly to Jade, so I'm only going to address the things that she said in her follow-up video. I've never done any sexual misconduct with Jade. I never traveled alone with Jade as a minor. Never. Ever. Jade would fly in and stay with the other girls. We only did one trip together and she was an adult.
I signed that non-disclosure agreement when I was 15 years old. I was a minor. Once again, taken advantage of.
Second thing, she keeps saying she signed an NDA as a minor. Absolutely false. She signed an NDA on October 22nd of 2017 when she was a full-fledged 18-year-old adult. One of the motives for Jade is she's very, very upset. She wanted to have this job. Now she vacillates. She goes back and forth and says, I'm retiring. Then I feel like I'm being replaced. And all of this is verifiable via text messages that she sent. She also said that I caused her to have no desire, no will, no ambition to model again, that I've destroyed everything for her.
And if you can't weed out the creeps soon enough, it'll ruin you from modeling.
This Benjamin Canarek, who is, by his own acclaim, a very famous shooter for Elle and Vogue and everything else, he goes on to post that a while ago. He reached out to Jade to ask if she wanted to get into any of the well-known modeling organizations out there. Jade declined at the time. Now, on July 9th, he posts on YouTube and says, recently she asked if I would relaunch. I declined. Jade's angry. She can't work with me any longer, and the other individual that possibly could have worked with her has now declined her recent request to do work. I found another text message that she sent to me September 27th of 2018. This is nearly 4 weeks after she left in Detroit. So it's not even the day after where she's emotional and whatever else. This is 4 weeks after the fact. She says to me, I'm not trying to be detrimental to your business. But what's the most critical component to this entire thing is that she goes on to write in 2 bullet points as to the reasons why she's no longer modeling with me. 1, I truly don't want this for the rest of my life. It's an unsteady income, and it's something that won't last until retirement. 2, I was upset with you, she's talking to me, because you asked me multiple times my availability for certain times and trips, so I proceeded to take them off of work, and then you'd bring another assistant.
I never lied. I am telling the truth.
You reach out to people, you gauge their availability. I never, ever told her to take time off of work. Unless I said, hey, I'm booking your plane tickets, you should take time off of work. Those are her words as to why we're not working together. The sexual misconduct is ludicrous, and it never happened.
I needed to come forward with my story and my truth. And if you don't like it, then get the fuck out of my face.
Next up is Miss Sierra Green.
I said, next time, don't try to rape your companions, asshole. Go fuck yourself. There was never a rape claim. When I said in the text, don't try to rape your companions. That, might have sounded extreme. I told him that the FBI was investigating him over sexual assault claims and various other knick-knack type things. And he said, but in my case, I quit on February 20th, 2018.
2 weeks later, she sends me a text message.
I remember sending Jason a text saying like, hey, I still think about you from time to time.
Still thinking of you from time to time with a heart. Just think about that. Still thinking of you from time to time with a heart. To which I reply back, thank you, I hope you're doing well. She then goes on later that month to post that she's filming some very adult-related content, and then goes on to create a music video where she plays the part of raping a pizza boy twice, once by drugging him and the next time by beating him with a baseball bat. She then proceeds to notice that I'm taking down her posts because I noticed that she was communicating with Ken Wheeler.
You probably still keep tabs on that person because it drives you crazy as I was watching him taking my photos off of his Instagram channel. You're totally replaceable.
That caused me alarm because Ken Wheeler is atrocious. So she reached out to Ken Wheeler. She started saying, boycott Jason Lanier. She reached out to Ken Wheeler by her own admission.
I, the first model, let it be known to the world. I went to Ken Wheeler and I said, hey, just so you know, I know Jason's full of crap because he is a piece of crap.
To come up with lies about sexual assault.
So when Ken Wheeler says, hey, some girls reached out to me, we did, or at least I did. And I did it with the intention of, if there was one person that could just get under Jason's skin without me having to be the one to personally just get under his skin and for me to kind of stay out of it, Ken Wheeler would be the one to do it. And in that regard, Ken Wheeler fully delivered.
By her own admission, she states that Ken exaggerated it into rape.
I will say I don't necessarily condone some of the kind of exaggerations he made because there was never a rape claim, and I don't know if wires got crossed or if it was to blow up the story a little bit, but that was where the claim kind of got a little iffy.
There's this group of Sierra, Ken, and a person named Jason Sarantos. Now we're trying to validate whether or not Jason Sarantos is a real person because, you know, we've had people send messages into this Candid Sensation website and then they magically get responses back from Ken Wheeler.
I don't know how I got involved in getting direct messages from the individual called Jason Sarantos. Started a couple of days ago, started going on again today. Now, apparently this Jason Sarantos is the same person that's been sending these messages out to all of Jason's clients, sponsors, family members, with all these videos and stuff tied to him, harassing these people, including myself. Because I had a suspicion that Jason Sarantos was Ken Wheeler, which I proceeded to call. Left a message because it went to voicemail. Told the individual on the other side that I was interested in doing some wedding photography or having some wedding photography done. Please call me back. Well, within 3 or 4 minutes, I get a text message, a DM, with a picture of myself and Jason taken at the Knoxville workshop with Jason Lanier University. And directly after that, I get a direct message from Ken Wheeler with the same picture with me and Jason with the caption that read, "Nice try, loser."
So I'm going to put a little plug out there. If you're watching this and you can tell me who owns Candid Sensation and or the We Stand Together channel, I'll give you free workshops for life. By the way, we've had reports done that show that there are bots on the Candid Sensation website, which means that it's up to no good. There's no reason to have bots on a wedding website. We think it's a complete scam and a catfish. See, this Jason Sarantos has been emailing my sponsors for years. He's emailed the director of the Sony Artisan program. That's how they do their destruction. And I feel like Eminem right now. Could the real Jason Sarantos please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. I mean, this is ridiculous. You guys are sick of hearing about Ken Wheeler? Imagine being me. Imagine being me. I just want to take pictures. This guy's trying to destroy my life. Truly. So Sierra then sends an email to Sony.
I sent an email to Sony and I said, hey, just so you know, there is an investigation. Again, not defamation. I stated a fact, and by May 24th, Jason will gone.
takes credit for me no longer being a Sony artisan. See, because what happened is that this false allegation resulted in an email being sent to Sony. No substantiation at all. And yeah, I lost being a Sony artisan because of this. Didn't do anything. So you guys want to know the truth? That's what happened. This Jason Sarantos is the same one sending stuff to Sony, to Rhodolite, and all my other sponsors. This is a complete defamation siege that I'm battling. If you guys want to help me battle it, hit me up at my GoFundMe. I need help. I need help. I'm literally liquidating my assets to be able to fight this injustice. I am the victim here. Ken is the distribution channel for all this. Sierra is the little recruiter. Think of Sierra as the recruiter. Now you may think I'm crazy, but again, I'm going to show you proof. Sierra is reaching out to anyone who's ever worked with me, asking them if they have anything, any dirt to share on me, any bad stories. She's pushing this companion narrative. She sent this text message to Kristen, seeking dirt, asking Kristen to join her. She reached out to her twice in May of 2018. Kristen and I have always maintained a good friendship, even after she left. So why Kristen's saying stuff now is beyond me. I think she's been completely lied to, this whole groupthink thing, but I'm going to get into that. But I mention that because you need to understand where Kristen's mindset was at in May of 2018. Sierra is texting her this stuff, and again, you're looking at it now. And Kristen's response at the time was, "Can someone please tell this crazy bitch to leave me alone, LOL." And now you stand together. But a year ago, she was a crazy bitch. Revisionist history. Character assassination disguised as sexual misconduct. Ken goes on to publicly declare me as a low-life rapist. He reaches out to organizations. Now, if you don't think this is bizarre, then you should probably go by the National Enquirer. This was to the Morgantown Photography Club, where I did an event in June of 2019, just last month. He reached out to them to say, Jason has assaulted all of these women. Again, no proof, nothing. No police, nothing. And then when they don't bow down to him, and they don't say, okay, we're going to cancel the event, he messages them. And you're watching a screenshot and says, send me your apology. Can you believe that? What kind of a man asks for an apology for other women that he alleges have been assaulted? That one takes the cake.
This is not to try and ruin and tarnish your reputation or your career.
That's like saying you see somebody on the sidewalk, you choose to run them over with your car, you choose to drive onto the sidewalk and run them over. And then when you drive away, you turn around and say, hey, I hope that didn't hurt. I didn't mean to hurt you. Why am I talking about this? Because no one would believe the story if I didn't show all of this evidence.
Certain bad eggs are kind of running the industry for me right now anyway.
So I mentioned that I've been dealing with this for 14 months. Sent Ken and Sierra cease and desist letters 14 months ago. They went quiet. Well, coincidentally, Sierra is now starring in a movie about sexual assault. Ken proceeds to post a 4-point document on his Instagram stating that by everything holy and factual, this is the truth according to Ken Wheeler. You say that you have instances of unless I refuse to pay people unless they put out. That's never happened. You say that I strand people.
You need to book me a flight home immediately. So they did that. They went ahead and they booked me a flight home immediately.
You've stated that I strand people and they have to get home with their own money. Ludicrous. And I have the receipts to prove all of it. You stated that I shot somebody nude for 2 hours. Refused to give the images. Here's the shoot. No nudes. I never shot this individual nude. Bold-faced lie. Say it with me now. Character assassination disguised as sexual misconduct. Why are there no positive testimonials of other ladies that have worked with you? I've received them. I have. And then when I post them, I get inundated with people saying, oh, it's a cover. This makes you look more guilty. It's a lose-lose. So there's 3 more individuals that we need to talk about. There's Joyce, Kristen, and Brenda. Joyce ended working with me in September of 2015. Now again, as I like to do, let me show you the things that she was writing to me while she worked with me. I would be nothing without my sort of stepdad, Jason Lanier. This is the most unselfish man. He has no agenda and really just wants everyone to win. I feel like the luckiest person to have been chosen to work for him. That's less than a year. Less than a year before we're no longer doing things together. This is an individual that loved calling herself my work wife. Joyce goes on to send a message to my wife, my real wife, in January of 2015. Now this is just 7 months before we're no longer working together. She goes on to write, Jason has been a huge blessing to me, not only mentally and spiritually, but artistically. There is no doubt in my mind that God had everything to do with me being led to you. Thanks for everything and for believing in me. So she's revising history and saying how horrible it was to work with me. Good job, Joyce! Shaking your trash? Shaking your trash? This is a woman that would climb on the top of my back if I was laying on the floor and crack my back.
I had to sit next to him on the airplane.
Okay, let me get this straight. We're gonna book plane tickets and you're gonna sit away from me? What in the world sense does that make? I mean, when I flew with Vanden, I sat next to him. Was I trying to hook up with Vanden? In July of 2015, while we are on our second stint in Ethiopia, Joyce sends another message to my wife and says the following. Jason is craving some Kara. He says, shit's getting real when he gets home. So what were some of the issues that led to us no longer doing things together? One, Joyce would post a lot of lewd content on her Instagram, and she made her Instagram Joyce with JL Pros. She put my name in it. Furthermore, she mentions a phone call.
Somehow, all three of us were on the phone. My mom, me, and Jason. And all Jason said was, are you done?
But when someone's telling the truth, the story has a clear beginning, middle, end.
No, Joyce, you called me at midnight and you butt dialed me. It was the butt dial from God. And then what you proceeded to do is I overheard you talking to your mom and you said, Jason hasn't paid me for this trip. And I listened to it for about 15 seconds and I was floored. And then I said, are you done? I then hung up and you proceeded to call me back. And then you said, Jason, please, 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 I have to tell that to my mom because I'm trying to get out of paying her babysitting money.
We're going to have to rethink like your title. That was the falling out between Jason and I.
We were very strained after that phone call. After that butt dial, things did change. When I hear that she's lying to her parents that I'm not paying her. So she no longer did things with me. Joyce and I didn't speak for another 7-8 months. And then my best friend in the world, I'll never have another friend like him, Vanden died. Many of you know that. The death of Vanden brought us back together, as many deaths do. We kind of called a truce because what had been happening, Joyce was putting fake Yelp reviews and everything else all over my channel. She was trying to destroy my business. Joyce and I had some issues we had to work out, like her ordering gear on my accounts with my sponsors, having it shipped to her home. So we met in 2017 again. I wanted everything to be done. I don't like having unresolved issues, I really don't. So I met with her in 2017. We met, we had dinner. We had dinner together. It was very nice. We recorded a video with her permission saying we are good. We love each other. So guys, I had a great shoot tonight. I just wanted to share this with you. Just had an absolutely amazing shoot. And
Nation!
it's Joycey.
Hi guys.
You know, it's been a while since Joycey and I have been able to connect, but it's important that you guys understand how much we love each other and that she is a very important person to me and that I know I'm important to her. And it's been a while. Our paths have gone in different directions, but hopefully we'll be able to do some fun stuff in the future. But Joyce, I love you.
Love you, Jason.
And I just wanted to share with you guys. You guys asked about Joyce, and so I wanted you guys to know that we are good. We're good, and we love each other. So until next time, keep shooting, never give up on your dreams. Find art gear that works for you.
And you only have one chance to get it right.
Talk to you later. Say bye.
Bye. Bye, Fedora Nation.
So I took the video with him. And that was that. Took my money, went home, and didn't speak to him again until I got a phone call from the FBI.
I then let Joyce back into the workshops group, and so letting Joyce back into my Facebook workshops group didn't go so well. She started to upset the moderators. She started blocking the moderators, and she honestly didn't want to obey any of the rules. So my wife asked me to remove her, and I did. All of this occurred a month after she and I met for that dinner meeting, which completely contradicts the story that Joyce is telling. To be honest with you, my wife hates Joyce. Why does she hate Joyce? Because when Joyce first left, I was in Chicago, and Joyce told me she was coming down with her boyfriend to harass my family while I was away. So Joyce and I were now communicating after this lunch meeting, this dinner meeting, and when I let Joyce back into my Facebook group, my workshops group, if you guys want to know everything, Kara said no. She's made your life a living hell, and now you're letting her back into our lives. That's what happened. So I notified Joyce, hey, I want us to remain good, but you can't be in the group. I'm sorry. I didn't want any more incidents. I didn't want any more bad blood, so we remained cordial over text. I encouraged her to come to conventions to keep shooting. I just honestly wanted us to be good and not have any more issues. I posted a shot from us from Ethiopia in 2018. She even commented on it and said, love that day. In other words, we were good. We then met again in 2018, where we were discussing her returning back to work. Kara didn't like it. Honestly, I felt like I really needed one of the friends from the old days. I really, really struggled when Vanden died, my friends. Really struggled with that. So I asked Joyce if she would meet with me and we could discuss her coming back. Well, it didn't work out, and that's where we're at today. Now, of all the things that Joyce said, the most outrageous is Joyce crying when she says that I introduced her as the crackhead biological mother to my adopted Mexican sons.
The first time I ever met his triplets, he said, "This is Joyce, your crackhead biological mother."
Anyone who knows anything about adoption knows that you never, ever badmouth the biological parents. Anybody knows anything about adoption. You don't. Because that scars the children. So no matter what you said that I said about you, which, Joyce, give me a break, I would never in a million years subject my children to making them think that their biological mother was a crackhead. Brenda attacks my wife, Tiffany attacks my wife, and you attack my kids. Next up is Kristen. What she is saying in the video, some of the stuff is so outrageous that I just really believe Kristen has been completely lied to. Met Kristen in Hawaii. She modeled for me at a workshop. She's going through a tough time, and she mentioned this in her video. She's going through a tough time trying to divorce her husband. I really do believe Kristen has been lied to. We are too good of friends for what's going on. I don't understand it, and I'm going to show you all the text message exchanges between Kristen and I to validate that, to verify that. Somehow somebody's told Kristen that I said that we cuddled. Never said that. Kristen says that, I told people that I wanted her to break up my marriage. I would never tell someone, hey, Kristen wanted to break up my marriage. People have told Kristen that I said we were in love. I've never said that. Kristen and I remained in contact up until November of 2018. In fact, I shared a text message exchange with her where I said, I'm in a good place for the first time in a long time. And what that was in reference to was, hey, you know what? I'm really feeling better after coping with and grieving with the death of Vanden. I have an amazing assistant, and life's good. I said we should see when we come to WPPI, and she says that would be awesome. That was the way it was. She was willing to have dinner and meet with us earlier this year. This is why this revisionist history is insane to me, because I'm showing you all these people communicating with me. So she started working with me, and because this was a very difficult time in her life, and I give her slack for that. A lot of things happened. She didn't want to go to Honduras. She was worried about the Zika virus. I ended up taking Brenda, and I remember sitting down at a cafe next to a gym with Kristen, telling her that Brenda was going to go, and she cried. She's very upset. I said, well, if I can't take you, I need to take somebody. That's why I took Brenda. Throughout this time, I really did everything that I could to help. I really did. So when people talk about friendships and whatever else, people are getting things really twisted. She had her car shipped from Hawaii. I drove her down to pick up her car. Car was locked out. I helped her get it. Now this was a good 2 hours plus one way from my house, 4 hours round trip. She wanted a new look. She wanted a new life, a new beginning. I got her a nose ring. I paid for it. She didn't like the tattoo because it reminded her of her husband, now ex-husband. I paid for that to get that fixed. She needed a co-signer for her apartment. I did that. She wanted the security of knowing that she'd be able to make it in her apartment, so My wife and I paid for that. When Kristen first came out, Kristen lived in our home for about a week. Getting her to go with me on the trip to Europe was nothing short of a miracle. And it was our last gasp effort. I remember sending her a text message before and we spoke, and I said, hey, Kristen, if you're not going to be able to travel with me because you're having issues, which I understand why you're having them. I got her apartment, out in the area in which we live so we could potentially do office work together. But she was always in LA, which is a good 2 hours from me. Fast forward to the trip, and I said, hey, if you're not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to continue paying for your apartment. That was the truth. I think that's what motivated her to actually do the trip. So we go to the airport and we get on the plane. And Kristen's behavior, while we were very good friends, Kristen's behavior was flaky. It was. There were some trips she'd go on, some trips not. She was very unavailable. It was difficult. So we sat on the plane and she is talking to her boyfriend. And just to be fair and just to be completely transparent, my wife sent me a text message about Kristen saying something to the effect of Kristen being flaky. Well, that's problematic when the person sitting next to you, Kristen, reads the text message. And that's what happened. She turned to me and said, hey, I don't know how else to say this, but I just read the text message and I don't know how to feel right now. Now, this was like straight out of a movie. The minute she read it, the plane had literally just pulled out of the gate. And now we're stuck on a plane together all the way to Europe. So the plane took off, we're on a plane, super awkward. We landed, we get into Germany, and I went to sleep, jet lagged, and she did go down to the lobby, and she did talk to her boyfriend and her father all night. It was awkward. I get up in the morning, I actually go down the elevator, I see her in the lobby. I said, hey, I'm gonna go grab some food afterwards, we should talk. Got some food, came back, went to the lobby. She was upset. And mind you, given the mindset at the time, I had barely gotten her on this trip. In retrospect, I shouldn't have done the trip with Kristen. Her head wasn't in it anymore, is the truth. And so we proceeded to talk, and I said, hey, Kristen, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to go home. I said, can you at least stay for the photo walk tonight? Because I had a photo walk at Photokina. And she said, no. I said, okay, so what do you want to do? I want to go home. So sitting there, pulled out my phone, pull up Expedia, I booked her a flight. Turned the phone to her and I said, this is the flight I can get you. Do you want to go home on this flight? She goes, yes. I said, okay. So, booked the flight. I booked a taxi. I took her baggage, her luggage. I loaded it into the taxi for her. I got into the taxi with her, took her to the airport, got out, walked her into the terminal with the bags. Then I went and got a rental car. In fact, I forgot my jacket in her suitcase because we had switched for weight restrictions. And I even texted her and said, hey, can I come get my coat from you? And she did say yes, and I went and got back and got my coat from her. And she went home. And it was difficult. It was hard. When Kristen tells you that we never cuddled and that we weren't in love and that we weren't a thing, that's true. We weren't.
We'd be on flights to where only my boss and I would be in one section of the airplane, and then the other person would be in a completely different row.
When Kristen says stuff like, it was really weird because my boss and I would fly, but then sometimes our cameraman would be 3-4 rows back. Kristen is misunderstanding how upgrades work on planes. Call Delta. When you get upgraded, it's only for 2 people. You have one person, and then guess what they call the other person? Your travel companion, coincidentally enough. And it was also a very difficult time for me. Vanden died right as Kristen started working for me. It was a very difficult time. Kristen states that I've blacklisted her and spoken ill of her to Hollywood producers. That is ludicrous.
You lied. You painted a false picture of my character to all these women, some men, and even Hollywood producers.
If anyone can tell me who this magical Hollywood producer is, I'll give you free workshops for life. It never happened. Kristen stated that I said I didn't want to work with her because she had gained weight. I have text messages showing. She said, oh, I'm still trying to get in shape. I said, I'm sure you look fine. Kristen constantly spoke about coming back to work with me. She wanted to come back. This isn't a person that was harmed. This is a person who's hurting because people are lying to her. And that's the truth. And I have left out a ton of details on her personal life as well. because I know she's being lied to. We were great friends and nothing more. Character assassination being disguised as sexual misconduct. Never had any sexual misconduct. Last but not least is Miss Brenda. Brenda came to that Honduras trip in replace of Kristen. But then it wasn't until Kristen left, and then, you know, she started traveling with me around November of 2016. Brenda and I went on a lot of trips together. We went to Cuba twice. We went to Italy. We went to London. She went a lot of places. So let's just state something for the record. She has stated that I never tried anything. She has stated that the sleeping accommodations were private and appropriate.
So once he went over that, he asked if I was okay with it. So I said yes. You know, I didn't have any issues with the pay. I didn't have any issues with the duties. I didn't have any issues with the sleeping arrangements.
She has stated that she agreed to all of them prior to working, which means clearly I explain this to people. I don't spring it on them.
I typically slept on the sofa. Gave me privacy, gave this person privacy.
And clearly by her actions, she demonstrated that she trusted me.
Very similar to when I worked with him. There was nothing weird about it.
Now Brenda says all this stuff and says that everything was great and blah, blah, blah. But then the tail end of her video, she goes into this revisionist history, doesn't give any examples for what it was, says I wanted to do certain kind of shoots, and when I wouldn't do those certain kind of shoots that I wanted to be platonic. I hope you understand what the word platonic means. It means non-sexual. It means non-romantic. It means you're friends. I mean, I cannot believe the way things are being misrepresented here. Again, I try to really be friends to these individuals that would travel with me. The travel life is very difficult. It's fun, it's glamorous, but it is trying on you. So Brenda and I traveled a lot in a short amount of time. We only traveled together for about 6 months, really. And during that time, we had a lot of great memories. We really did. I remember we're sitting down in Miami, we're having dinner. It was in between Miami and us going to Cuba. And the other models were there. That's an important point. Because I said, hey, Brenda, if you could do anything, what would you want to do? She didn't elect to go spend time with the models or do any of that. She said, well, I'd go to Disney World. Now we're in Miami. And Miami to Orlando is about 4 hours, one-way drive. And I said, really? You'd like to go to Disney World? And she said, yeah. I said, cool, let's go. She said, that'd be awesome. So I took her to Disney World. I paid for it. Then try to ask for any quid pro quo in return.
Very similar to when I worked with him. There was nothing weird about it.
You're telling me that you're gonna go to Disney World with a man who's creepy and leave the safe confines of the other models? You're not. Brenda said she quit and it was her boyfriend's fault. And she said she just made it up.
And I told him, hey, you know what? My boyfriend doesn't want me to travel anymore, so I am gonna have to stop working for you. So yeah, so I didn't. I just blamed it on my boyfriend. I was just like, you know, whatever.
Well, I found that to be very intriguing because we had a conversation 4 weeks prior where she is telling me how worried she is that Richard is going to stop her from doing the job. There were a number of warning signs at this point. I was frustrated with Brenda because of the fact that Brenda was turning into pretty much whenever we were at home and I wanted to do office work or any of the tedious kind of boring stuff, she didn't want any part of it. Brenda only wanted to travel. I'd say, hey, let's go do this. And she says, oh, I already blocked something. Then she just said, hey, by the way, I can't do this event in June because I'm going to Mexico. I said, oh, well, did you want to clear that with me? No, we already booked plane tickets. I said, well, why wouldn't you clear that with me like a normal boss? And she said, well, we checked Meetup, and when there wasn't anything on Meetup or anything on our existing plane itineraries, my uncle just booked the tickets to Mexico. That's not the way you treat a job if you want to keep it. I even proceeded to tell her you can't treat this like a casting call. She would tell me that Richard was complaining that there wasn't enough time at home. Now, when you sit here and say that I was trying to cause things and I didn't like people having boyfriends, I let Richard come to a shoot. We did a thing for a charity and I let Richard film it. He was actually a really cool guy. I liked him. In fact, in my text message exchange with Brenda, I talk about wanting to help her have a good relationship with her boyfriend, meaning I would try to do things where she had time off and could meet with him and spend time with him. To let you into her mindset at the time, she texted me and said, the last thing I want is for Richard to not be okay with my job. That was on April 22nd. That's less than a month before she quits. And I said to her, like any normal boss would, let's be on the same page with our schedules and timelines. I think that's a reasonable request. And the reason we were having this discussion is because I was teaching a 4-day boot camp and I had 2 of my assistants not there. Again, the assistants love to travel. The tedious, boring work, not so much. So I wrote, I've hired help and I don't have help when I need it, and that's very frustrating. Now this is on April 23rd, we're having this conversation. It continued until the next day, and she texted me this, state of mind. So it goes to show you, when she blamed her boyfriend for quitting, it had a lot to do with it. I don't want Rick to get annoyed and all of this to take a shit. I replied, we both want to keep things moving ahead. And she replied back, true, true. This is 3 weeks before she quit. Major warning signs. If you're still not convinced, and we talk about people being upset that these individuals are talking to their boyfriends, in May, Brenda asked me to help her with her phone bill because she had spent so much money talking to Richard while she was in Cuba. She had a massive phone bill that she couldn't pay. I was okay with her talking to her boyfriend, and I wanted her to be able to maintain that relationship so she could continue to travel. So when she was in Cuba and I knew she was talking to her boyfriend, I knew I'd end up paying for it. And I was okay with that. So in May, I sent her $400 to pay for her phone bill, which was in large part due to her conversations with Richard. And by the way, Brenda emphatically states that she wasn't fired. Again, I agree.
I quit. I wasn't fired, okay? So I just want everybody to know that I was not fired. I quit.
She wasn't. I didn't fire Brenda. She quit. I never said she got fired. So Brenda sends me a text message and says, hey Jace, now this is in May. I'm at the Sony Kando event. See you Wednesday. Now that's only 2 days from the time that she's sending me this text. That was about at 8:30 at night. 4 hours later, she sends me a text saying, I just got done talking to Richard, and he is not happy at all with all of the traveling. Once again, I'm sorry, and thank you for everything. She left out the fact that she got pregnant. She left out the fact that when she sent me this text message, she was 5 weeks pregnant. That, in my belief, between the 4 hours, she found out she was pregnant. And she left that out of her video, my friends. That's pretty big. She was calling off to local work. And even when we were in England in the early part of May before the Sony Kando event, we sat at a dinner table. I'll never forget. And she said, she looked pretty down. And I said, what's going on, Brenda? And she said, I'm really worried about Richard. So we came home from that UK trip. I went to the Sony Kando event. She went home. She'd already been complaining about stuff with Richard. She found out she was pregnant. She quit. Again, I think people are lying to her as well. It's a simple case of when you allow someone to poison the water, as Ken and Sierra have done. I've shown evidence of Sierra recruiting these women. We have stories of the lies that have gone on. Hollywood producers. People getting fired when they weren't fired. These girls admitting that nothing happened. You guys are talking about all these videos about sexual misconduct. These girls are actually saying stuff didn't happen. Tiffany said nothing happened. Allie said I touched the small of her back. Jade explaining why she quit. And sharing some crazy story about how she would poke me in the butt like she poked her dad in the butt.
A butt poking contest between the crew members can turn into you smacking my butt when I'm walking out of the elevator. And like my dad, I'd lean on my dad's shoulder. I would kiss my dad's cheek. I'd poke my dad's butt.
No, didn't happen. Joyce didn't even complain about anything sexual except saying something happened with her friend. Didn't happen. There's a video on the We Stand Together channel from Kira Lawrence talking about how she doesn't like me. That has nothing to do with this topic.
Oh yeah, Kira, what do you think about the workshop as a model, first time with Jason Lanier?
It's not my first time.
I know, but we're talking.
Okay.
Hey, Kira, what do you think about working with Jason Lanier?
Honestly, it's been such a beautiful experience to work with him. He definitely knows what he's doing. He's able to pose, doing the lighting. It's great as a model to actually have someone that can give you direction, because a lot of the times you're kind of just meandering around, and it's so great to have so many photographers on set, so I have so many different types of looks, which I love, all different types of angles and emotions and feelings, and I'm really getting to know you guys, and I'm having one heck of a time.
Awesome. I was going to ask you to stop because we're running out of memory storage.
You know, and talking about changing and stuff, this leads to the dog pile effect. Irene doesn't like the fact that we did a video together and that people tell her she doesn't know how to use Flash. I could care less if she knows or doesn't know. I don't care. I really don't. If she knows Flash or doesn't know Flash, it doesn't affect my life or my career. I really don't care. Irene has admitted in comments as recently as this month that her experience with me was great. I was charming. It was a positive experience. Now she's, again, revisionist history. She doesn't like that video's up. She sent me an email asking me to remove the video because she didn't feel comfortable having her name associated with me because of these ladies. No, what Irene wanted to do was get the video removed because she doesn't like the fact that it shows her not using Flash. Irene wants to talk about me. She brought a model to the shoot wearing lingerie, not me. Irene does videos wearing bikinis showing her butt for views. If that works for her and her channel, that's great. But stop making this about sexual misconduct. Defamation is a very serious thing. I will not allow this to continue. So trust me when I say, my friends, we are handling this the legal way. And if you feel so inclined after watching this video to donate to our GoFundMe, because I'm going to need it. This is a lot of people over completely bogus claims. And I do believe this is a shakedown. They're looking for money from this. And we're just sharing a portion of the evidence that we have. There's so much more. I just don't have the time to put up with all this. And for anyone else who's thinking about making these bogus videos, we're just going to send them right to the lawyer. This changes you as a human. It leads you to mistrust other people. Sad. Do I regret cutting the entourage? No, it needed to happen. Am I very grateful that I've had the help of Emily over the last, year and a half? Absolutely. I couldn't have done this without her. And I wouldn't change that decision again. To my sons watching this, I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you for becoming the young man that you're becoming and not listening to this garbage. Knowing the relationship that I have with you and knowing that I would never, ever refer to your biological parents in that regard. I'm not going to keep making videos about this, but I do need your help. I need you to report these channels. I need you to report their Instagrams, their Facebooks, their websites. Their YouTube channel needs to be reported for these false allegations. This is the epitome of character assassination disguised as sexual misconduct. And it's wrong, and it's evil, and it needs to be stopped. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sticking around long enough to let the truth come out.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily Ronaldo. I'm Jason Lanier's assistant. I've worked full-time with Jason for the past 13 months, and I can say that I have never witnessed or experienced the alleged behaviors. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, you're scared, or oh, vulnerable, you're trapped. No, guys, I'm not trapped. I choose to stay here. I have plenty of options. I have a master's. I'm a speech-language pathologist. Honestly, I could very easily find another high-paying job that I love just as much with very little effort. The notion that Jason doesn't pay is ludicrous. I live in San Diego. I'm doing just fine. I've worked with 6 of the girls who are related to all of this nonsense, and they have presented with lack of professionalism, lack of respect, reduced initiative, inability to adapt to new circumstances, inability to accept any form of feedback, whether that be positive or, suggestions for growth. And the mere idiocracy is just mind-blowing. Jason and I were constantly backpedaling and redoing the tasks that we asked them to do. Jason, he's an incredible man. He's kind, he's smart, he's full of so much wisdom, and he is the exact same man off camera that you guys all know him to be on camera. My heart goes out to Jason and his family for the crap that they've been dealing with. I believe in what we do, and I'm so grateful for all of you out there who still are believing in us too. We couldn't do it without you guys. thank you for waiting to listen and hear us out for our side of the story.